I think in my 40 years of horticulture, I'm more amazed by this plant than any other. This is a Hydrangea paniculata, or a panicle hydrangea. The reason that I'm so amazed by this plant is when I started my nursery business back in my 20s, I was growing a variety called PG, I was growing a variety called Pinky Winky, and we just referred to them as tree hydrangeas because they got very, very large, and I just couldn't get anyone interested in really mass producing them in any kind of way. So they were easy to root, they were easy to grow, and I'd grow little trade gallon containers like this, and I'd go around to all the nurserymen, and you know, they'd buy all my hollies, and they'd buy all my loropetalum, and they'd buy all my other stuff, and they just wouldn't buy these panicle hydrangeas. And so it was always like, why? They're the easiest hydrangea to grow. They grow in the full sun. They bloom reliably on new wood. They don't, winter damage isn't going to cause them not to bloom. There's like on and on. I can come up with all these reasons to grow this plant. They're great pollinator plants, but nobody would bite on them. And then one day, Limelight hydrangea gets introduced out into the world, and it has more of these sterile florets, the white showy part on the flower that made the flower quite a bit more showy. And I'll show you that on one of the an older type variety in just a minute, how they're slightly less showy, but they were previously better pollinator plants overall. But that change from you couldn't sell one to it's probably the vast majority of hydrangeas that are sold today because there's so many varieties. This is one of Buddy Lee's great breeding successes here. He's the inventor of Encore azaleas, and he also involved in breeding lots of other plants. This is White Wedding. It's a really, really compact growing version. This plant has been in our garden for 6 years. I've got another one of his varieties here in the garden, and look, it's coming into flower now. You're not seeing it fully colored up yet. These flowers will start kind of with this kind of greenish hue to them, and slowly but surely get whiter and whiter as the season goes on. So we'll talk about a little bit of maintenance in this video, how to keep them in the best shape, and we'll talk through some other varieties as well. This growth habit here is more typical of what we would expect from Hydrangea paniculatas. This is one that Dr. Durr gave us from his breeding program down in Georgia. And originally, again, PG and the others grew like this, typically more multi-trunked. This one's been trained into a single trunk tree, and you'll see a lot of paniculatas being sold as little single trunk trees, sometimes even grafted onto a really, really super straight trunk. But more typically what you would get if you were just growing one of these large growing Hydrangea paniculatas is kind of a multi-trunk small tree or large shrub. What you get on these flowers, and this is typical of other hydrangeas, is we get these sterile florets. This is the showy part of the flower. When you're looking at a Hydrangea macrophylla or any of them, that showy part that's drawing you in and making you a big hydrangea fan, it's just this little sterile part of the flower. Behind that, hidden typically down in here, is the actual flowers for the pollinators. And you'll notice on the newest breeding, it's mostly sterile florets and not a lot of the the actual flower parts remain on the flower. So this one, as these flowers they're not quite open. Oh yeah, there are a few open right here. There they are, right there. That's the actual flower. So you basically have this part right here is where it's screaming to all the to the bees passing by, come visit me. I've got something for you. And then here are the actual flowers. Again, this was how they grew. Big leaves, but it's so easy. This particular plant, we have it, the sun is coming up right now. I'm probably getting a little shadowy here. By 8 o'clock in the morning, this one will be in the full sun, and it'll be in the full sun until 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, this is just getting tons of sun. You can't do that with other hydrangeas. Typically, most hydrangeas are going to need at least some break during the day. They're also hardy from like zone 4 to zone 9. So almost everybody watching can grow this plant, which also makes it kind of unique. When we think about Hydrangea macrophyllas or oak leaf hydrangeas where the buds could get damaged in the wintertime because they carry their flower buds through, that's not true with this plant. Even if this plant takes some winter damage, it's going to bloom on the new growth. And you can see that because it's right out here on the terminal part of this growth where this plant grew about 1.5 feet before it actually set flower buds and started to flower. One thing about this is I say they're hardy in zone 4 to 9, but up in zone 4 and 5 and 6, you're going to get some fall color on them. That variety called Pinky Winky that I was talking about, the flowers, these sterile florets here would start to turn pink in the late summer and early fall, and then get brighter and brighter as time goes on. Here in the deep south, they typically just kind of go to papery gray color, and they're just done for the season. There is some breeding around that though. So again, these flowers start out kind of greenish, and then they get super, super bright white. Here in the south, they go to just kind of a papery color to finish. In the north, they should go through some sort of transition, and there's a lot of selection around that, around really almost red flower color toward the end of the season, or these sterile florets turn kind of a reddish color. This is a variety called Sweet Starlight, and it was selected for its ability to do that color change here in the south. And so there's a lot of selection around that. This is also a really compact variety, right? This is fantastic. We're not at peak flower by any stretch of the imagination. And in fact, all of this new growth, this is the beauty of these paniculatas, right, is every single one of these terminal ends, as long as it's growing, it's gonna flower. That's the beauty of these. And this one is another one it couldn't be in any more sun. Probably getting 12 hours of direct sun during the day. So again, we got selection around this. We got selection around this compactness, where, you know, originally these were plants that got 15 to 20 feet tall. Now we're seeing them go down further and further. And believe it or not, Steph and I saw some breeding over in the Netherlands, which is going to be released here in the States over the next couple of years, that are for hanging baskets and are for ground cover. The incredible amount of selection. Once everybody went all in on this, once Limelight kind of hit the market, and people saw the market for this particular plant because of its ease in comparison to other hydrangeas, it was just on. And so we've gone from 25 feet tall to literally 18 to 24 inches tall. You guys are going to see that, and I think be astounded by that particular breeding. I think the #2 plant at the Chelsea Flower Show this year was one of the Groundbreaker Ruby, which is one that kind of gets a little bit of a reddish coloration in the flower as they fade. So let's talk about a little bit of maintenance on these. This is one of my absolute favorite varieties, also in the Southern Living Plant Collection. It's called Moon Dance, and another one of Buddy Lee's selections. This one went in about 5 years ago, and what we do is we actually cut it back to about 2 feet tall in the wintertime. Something you could not do on your hydrangea macrophylla or your oak leaf hydrangeas, because you'd be pruning the flowers off of them. But with these in the late winter, you can just cut them down. This particular plant grows about 3 feet and flowers every year. So I know I want to cut it down to about 2 feet, and then I'll have it in, by the time this is in full flower and all these branches have extended and it's in full flower, it'll be right about here. I got a little fence here, so each side of the fence you'll be able to see this plant in full flower. Look at the amount of individual groupings here of flowers there are on this plant. This is such a good variety. If this one's ever available, it's sometimes available on Plants by Mail. I think it was on Plants by Mail one time earlier this season. Don't know if it is right now, but I'd highly, highly recommend this one as one of the smaller growing, more compact varieties. You know, we do one of everything in our garden. A lot of people are going to mass plant these, but imagine this plant mass planted, all at 5 feet tall, all in full bloom. You know, and full bloom for us here in Raleigh is going to be sometime around the 4th of July probably, which is much, much later than other hydrangeas. Up in the north is probably going to be more like the beginning of August before you've gotten enough growth on them and they've woken up enough to come into full flower. Talking quickly through a little bit of maintenance. You don't have to prune them in the winter, but we do prune these more compact varieties, or White Wedding, Moon Dance, Sweet Starlight over there. We give them a little bit of a haircut. My tree farm one back there, I'm trying to tree farm it, so I'm allowing it to grow up and over our head. So it depends on this placement that you would have. So again, you can buy some that are already tree formed, and those are probably going to require some maintenance on them during the winter time. Otherwise, they're going to get too much on top for a little teeny tiny trunk, and that may be an issue ultimately. So you probably want to bring those back in just a little bit in the late winter. Blooming on new growth like this means that whatever winter damage, again, is not going to affect the blooming on them. We fertilize this garden once a year. These are not high maintenance plants in any way, shape, or form. They're more, hydrangeas in general are pretty pH tolerant, meaning they'll take acid soils, they'll take alkaline soils. That has an impact on the flower color though on other hydrangea types, but not on these. These are still going to bloom this same color. So they're tolerant of lots of different soil, different pHs. They'll still flower reliably. Water is important though. We're taking something that is trying to peak flower at probably the worst time of year. Like if you were going to be a plant and say, I want to leaf out in the spring and I want to flower sometime during the season. Well, when would the best time to do that would be? Immediately in the spring, right? When it wakes up and you've got plenty of soil moisture, you got plenty of energy, or maybe in the fall when the nighttime temperatures have dropped and everything. This plant decides to bloom in the worst of the summer. So because of that, I think you're going to see, and because you're going to put them in more sun, you have the potential to see this. This is a great example of a leaf that got dehydrated at some point, you know, in the last few weeks, because we've been abnormally dry as I'm filming this year. And so you can get a little bit of leaf scorch, which just basically means sunburn. You take in, if it dries down enough, it will sacrifice leaves and everything in order to flower, because that's what plants are trying to do. Flowering plants are trying to make seed, and they're trying to get pollinated. And so they will sacrifice the rest of the plant sometimes to do that. So if you see these wilting, take it kind of seriously and go and give them a drink, because if those leaves dry out enough, the sun can just burn them. It's like being dehydrated at the beach, and your skin, you're more vulnerable to sunburn, you know, when you're dehydrated. Same exact thing in plants. So while I say they'll take full sun and they're really extremely tough plants, you can take some damage, you know, while that thing's trying to peak flower if it's abnormally dry. Keep in mind, the word hydrangea means water vessel. So, you know, they need water. So that's an important component. And other than that, we just keep them mulched, fertilized once a year with an organic fertilizer. Back in February or March, this garden was fertilized, and that's it. I think a lot of you growing these know that. The occasional thing will come along and chew a leaf here or there, but man, almost nothing. I mean, you'd have to really be hard pressed to find anything that damaged this plant in any way, shape, or form. And again, is the reason that Hydrangea paniculata went from obscure specialty hydrangea, you know, that were in kind of interesting collector gardens, to probably the #1 selling hydrangea. It's probably nearly, if it hasn't passed Hydrangea macrophylla, it probably is very, very close at this point, because they're just such easy ornamental plants overall. So there you go. There's kind of the history, you know, of the breeding on Hydrangea paniculatas, and how easy they are as ornamental plants, and what makes them special, and a little bit of maintenance to boot here in this video. Thank you guys so much for watching.